Okay, this is for my DN-T34 class, and this is going to be a real short little sequence of exercises using two different sizes of balls. And so I've got one that's a little larger, medium-ish size that's called, this particular one is called the Pilates Togo ball. And this one is the size I use in most of my classes, which is a little bit more of a small to medium. I think it's about 7 centimeters or so. And so I'm going to use both of these in the sequence, but I'm also going to use a bolster. And this is just like a yoga bolster. And I've got one that's not perfectly round. It is a little narrower and wider. And I like this to use with my clients who I want to teach them stuff using a slightly unstable surface, but maybe not so unstable as a round foam roller or bolster. So I'm using this other one today. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is start with a bigger ball put to the side so you can grab it easily, and take your smaller ball and lay down on your back with the knees bent. And we're going to do some leg glides. And these are those simple little leg glides to teach, there's Ebony, okay, to teach our hip disassociation and stuff like that, and stabilization of the pelvis. And so we're going to put the bottom of the foot light on the ball with the other one bent, and we want to be in our neutral pelvis and spine, arms alongside. You can put a head support if you want for this. And then we glide with a light foot, glide the leg out straight. Inhale. Delay the ball moving as you start the knee first. That will kick in the abdominals a little more, especially the transverse abdominis, and then you're going to slowly bring it back in. And then glide it out. Inhale. And slowly bring it in. Exhale. Lay down, Ebony. All right, and then you would do that on each leg. So I'm going to switch the bottom of my foot on top, and then you're going to glide it out, keeping the pelvis neutral. And then before they bring it in, you want to cue light leg, start the knee without moving the foot or ball, and then after you slightly bend that knee, you drag the ball in, keeping the foot light on the ball. Okay? And then we can do both legs. And so you can put both feet on and glide it out to straight legs, and then bring it in with those same cues of light feet on the ball. And starting the knee first, keeping that neutral, trying not to let the back ribs come up, and then bringing it back in. Now, we can also do that entire sequence with arm reaches. So we would put the right foot on the ball and the other foot flat like we started, but this time as I glide the leg out, I'm going to do the opposite arm reaches. They arrive at the same time, and then it returns at the same time. So there's a timing issue here. I'm going to do the other side so you can see a little better. So it's important to cue the timing that they arrive at the same time. It helps people with coordination. And in Pilates, we are working to teach our clients coordination. And so when you're gliding in and out, it should be not only light foot, smooth and fluid, keeping neutral, but arriving out at the same time and returning at the same time. And then of course, both feet, both arms. And this is a little more challenging. Now you really have to kick those abdominals in like crazy to bring that ball in without changing your trunk. And so this is one I use a lot. My client with Parkinson's, we do this a lot as our warm-up because he needs to continue to work on bilateral work and coordination. That really helps him stay, a little bit more connected as he moves through his disease. Okay, so now, after we do some of those, and again, you don't have to use these in this order, we're going to go ahead now and use both balls. So get your larger ball and the smaller ball. We're going to put the larger ball behind the upper back, leaning on it in a flat back, in a neutral spine and neutral pelvic position. So the other ball goes between the knees and feet just a few inches apart. And notice I don't have the feet jammed in close because we want them to have that space to keep that neutral pelvis. So there is a little space under here. We want to maintain that. And then the ball goes where they can comfortably arc over the ball, so that you might want to test it with them first to make sure they don't feel like the ball's on their waist, but it's above the waist on the upper back, but they can arc over the ball. So you notice I adjusted a little bit because I felt like it was too low. Okay, once you have your position, then you will interlace the hands behind the back for this first part, and we're just doing our basic chest lift or ab curl. So we arc, but they get to go all the way back. So now they're in a deeper range of motion, so they can get into more extension. You can pause here to have them just press their elbows slightly open to get a little more stretch across the chest. I'm really feeling this today because of all the computer work that we're all doing by being online. And then we nod first to lengthen the back neck, sink the breastbone, sliding it away from the chin, but not changing the pelvis as you ab curl to that slanted position. And right here, I do feel my abdominals kicking in, but I'm not tucking or trying to lift off the ball. I'm not trying to pull my chin down. I'm just going to more of a straight line with my upper back, just very lightly touching the ball. Inhale to arc back. Open the elbows a little bit, stretch. Nod first to get head in alignment, and then slide the breastbone to go into that slanted ab curl. One more, just to show that again. Inhale, opening to stretch, and then nod and ab curl. All right, now in the next one, we're going to use the arms reaching forward to start, and we do the same exact thing, but for more challenge, we're going to reach back with the arms, but don't let the head fall back. You're just going to have them look at the ceiling, and then arms up, nod, and reach a little more forward. Now they'll come a little more into that ab curl as they reach forward. Not coming off the ball, but you're very light on the ball. Arcing back, reaching, but don't let the head, neck just fall back. And then nod and reach forward. And then you can do that same idea, but reach to a little bit more to the side. So we're going to do the same reach. Inhale, and then we're going to take the ab curl, and then at the right about here, you're going to start to angle to that diagonal, bringing both arms across a little bit. But I'm not putting the hands together yet. I'm just taking it across with both arms. And then reach back. You're keeping your lower part nice and stable. We don't twist in this pelvis. You come a little forward and then start to angle on the rest of the way to that diagonal. And inhale, arcing. I like using this bigger ball. It's not a big ball, but it's just a little bigger than the other one because you can get a little more range, I feel, in the extension, as well as more support when you go into the ab curl. And then reach. Now, we're going to stay lifted and cross hand over hand. And now we do that little side to side. Exhale, like a little hula across, exhale. Trying not to move anything below the waist and keeping the ab curl position and shoulders down. Reaching, exhale, reaching, exhale. Now, we're going to take the small ball out from between the knees, extend both legs out together, reach the arms forward, and we're going to do that same arc back with straight legs. So you reach back, come forward to your ab curl, and now I'm coming off, not off the ball, but just again light, and it's a little more challenging with the legs straight. And then arcing back again, inhale, and reach forward, feeling that nice deep, deep scoop. And we're going to do another one here. Inhale. And nod. And reach and deep, deep scoop. All right, then we bend the knees, grab the legs, and roll ourselves up. And now we remove that from behind us. Now, we're going to do the ball under, the small ball under your sacral area, and the larger ball will go between the knees and the lower legs. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get it there a little bit, and then I'm going to lift up into a little bit of a bridge and put the ball under the sacral area. Again, it's not primarily on your waist. It will smash towards your waist, but it's not on the waist. And then I'm going to get that ball right between underneath the knees and the shin, the calves, and then bring myself into neutral so the tailbone lengthens over the ball, and I've got my 90-90 position, arms alongside for balancing. So we have a little more stability challenge here. And now we're going to just keep that ball, I'm squeezing it slightly to keep it there, and dip both toes, inhale, lifting with the abdominals, exhale. And we dip it, inhale, and exhale. Now we're going to add a pelvic or curl as you lift the leg. So we're going to curl the tailbone a little bit. So we go inhale, and you lift, and right about here you curl the tailbone into a pelvic tilt. And you dip it, inhale, start to lift, and then right about here, curl the tailbone. So we are going into a posterior pelvic curl. And curl. We're using the abdominals to do the work though. Make sure the client is not using their legs to do the work. They're using the abdominals right here to do that deep scoop again to pull the knees closer. One more. Inhale and deep scoop. Exhale. Okay, then I'm going to take this big ball out, put the legs down one at a time, lift up, pull the ball out, roll down. Then we're going to put the small ball back between the knees with the big ball to the side and bring the knees, and then bring the feet under the knees with the feet pretty close together and arms alongside. We're going to do some bridging. So you inhale, pelvic curl, but you're putting a slight squeeze on the ball up to the bridge. Pause, inhale, and roll down. We're all familiar with this, but you're using that pressure against the ball. Then we do our little squeezes. So we roll up, and we do gentle presses inward on the ball. 1, 2, maintaining that straight line through the body. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sink and roll down bone by bone, and release. Okay, so now we're going to go to the bolster. So put your balls to the side, and we're going to start with our hips over the bolster. And so again, you can have them lie down first, then lift into a bridge, slide the bolster under the sacrum, or you can slide that in for them is better probably. Okay, if you're working with a client. Now, I like to kind of have them hold the sides a little bit to give them that anchoring so they don't feel like they're going to slide off, and to make sure it's not primarily on the waist, but yes, on the bolster, some of their waist may be on it, but you want it primarily under the pelvis. All right, good. Now, we're going to do a couple of things here first. So we're going to start with bringing our legs to tabletop, turning out to the Pilates V, heels together in the V. And we're going to do frogs. So they tighten the abdominals, you stretch out diagonally, and again, this is a good abdominal challenge, as well as working the, not only the abdominals, but you can cue, since their back is against something, the multifidus, imagining that part that's on the bolster dragging a little bit up toward the waist as they stretch the legs in opposition. And then you can also do perpendicular turned out and take your openings. Inhale, squeezing up, exhale. You can do these on the ball as well, but this is a little more forgiving in terms of being a little more stable and a little more gentle on the back. And then that way, depending on your client, you can start on the bolster initially, or if you're doing more challenging things, to teach it here first and then later do it on the ball is another way to use that. You can also do your one leg and back up, all that kind of series we learned on the step barrel, or the scissoring for stability, working on that and stretch. And then you could even do your helicopter here, all right, and all that whole series. Okay, and then from here, let's do, you could also, of course, do your little simple stuff, your toe dips, instead of doing on the ball if you wanted to do that, etc. Okay, so now from here, we're going to push that bolster and roll down. And then for the next section on the bolster, we're going to do some side overs. Now, We've learned the side overs on the step barrel, but for some clients it might be easier to have them start here, depending on their issues. Maybe the circumference of the step barrel would be a little too much, or you can use this just for variety in your sessions to, just use some different equipment for variety purposes. So I would have them sit right up against the bolster and drape over in a straight line, bottom knee bent, top leg straight, anchoring the edge of the medial side of the foot, and then either both hands behind or one arm out the bottom arm, and they can lift up to just where they can do it. Let me get a little more up over there. Lift up to just here. This is a little more challenging, so you can do both arms. Exhale behind the head like you would for the same idea for the step barrel or the arc barrel, or one arm extended and the top arm behind the head, or for more challenge, both arms. So all those same variations. All right, then you can also do lift, rotate, center, down. It's not as big a range, but definitely it's challenging. And down. And then your stretch at the end always. Nice stretch at the end. And of course you would do that on the other side, which I'm not going to do right now. Now for push-up. Sometimes, we modify the push-up by having them on their knees, right? And then going into a flat back here to do the push-up. But here's a nice way to bring some cushioning under the knees, but also to increase difficulty. It's actually a little more difficult this way. So I'm going to bring my knees and the upper shins onto the bolster. Then I'm going to walk forward to get in my straight line, cross my ankles if I want to open the knees a little, and they can either bend here or feet down. Now, you're going to do your same push-up, but now it's a little more challenging in many ways because it's a little bit more like a full plank. But my knees are cushioned, and I also have a little support. But it's still very challenging. So don't think this is easy just because I've got the bolster there. Or you can have it here as well, if that feels better on their knees. That's fine too. And then always, of course, rest position after that. And then you can do our basic back here. And I'm going to turn the bolster this direction, lengthwise. Then stretching the trunk all the way onto the bolster with the chest just slightly off. It will depend on the person's proportions, of course. And then I'm going to start with my toes tucked, legs straight, and my hands crossed, forehead down. And the first level of difficulty I'm going to do is just to hover the upper back. And this is more challenging in many ways than doing it flat on the mat. And lift and lower. Then I'm going to do the leg and the other leg and hold them there. And now do the same thing. Lift, keeping the legs up the whole time, and lift. Then you can add challenge by adding the arms out, back to the forehead, and down, or out and around to the hip, reaching a little more forward through the chest, back to the little side T shape, to the forehead, and down. We can also keep the upper body down, lift the legs, and do little beats, things like that. And this is challenging, by the way. Don't think it's easy. Just because we're on the bolster doesn't mean they're not working hard. And then for the next one, we're going to do breaststroke prep. So a lot of times for breaststroke prep, I like to teach it on the floor, but you can also teach it here on the bolster. You put the arms like a little goalpost position. I would go ahead and tuck the toes, knees straight. And then you're going to hover the chest, and then you're going to take the arms up alongside the shoulders in this goalpost position like they're on a floor at that shoulder height. Now, you reach the arms, inhale, circle around to your extension, exhale, and bend. You can just stay in extension like this. You're really in a straight line here. All right, inhale, exhale, and back. Or you can start here and lift up first. Exhale. Reach it. Inhale. Circle around and bend and lower. Exhale. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, lift. Inhale, reach. Circle around. Bend and lower. So lots of ways you can kind of teach that. And then, of course, always rest position after that. And then the other thing you can do on the bolster, which is nice, is swimming. So I'm going to extend the arms. I'm going to take my legs slightly open. And, of course, I like to do a slight open V. Then you lift the opposite arm and leg first and lower. And you can start it that way so they feel what they're doing. And I wouldn't put them on the bolster till they've already learned the basic swimming position like this. Then you're going to add your flutter, and it is a little more challenging here in many ways, because even though it's a more flat bolster, it's still more challenging because of the range that they can work in here as opposed to the floor, being on the floor. Okay? And then rest and sit back to rest position. Deep breaths into the back. All right, I hope that gives you some nice ideas for using balls and bolster.